So I've played a lot of Domino over the last week or so. My brain very much hurts and I am really pumped to talk about her. Hello and welcome to Nelson Oliver Cards. My name is Nelson and today we're taking a deep dive look into one of the newest heroes we have from Marvel Champions, Domino. Domino came alongside Cable in the newest Next Evolution campaign box, and she is so much fun. Spoiler alert, I love her. She is amazing. Anyways, let's talk about the video real quick before I start gushing even more about Domino. This video is going to be broken up into a couple different parts. We're going to talk about Domino and her base kit, her cost curve, some of the basic cards that she likes to run, talk about her aspects as well as overall rankings, and then dive into some multiplayer thoughts here at the end. That being said, the majority of this video, we're going to be taking a look at Domino through a solo lens, true solo, one hero on the table, and then we'll talk about a little bit more multiplayer at the end. So let's talk about Nina. On her alter ego side, she has a 6 hand size, 3 recovery, pretty standard there, but she has a really cool action where she's allowed to swap a card in her hand with the top card of her discard pile. This has some really cool implications. Kind of the first one that I stumbled onto is that you're able to play doubles twice now. So it's effectively a Miss Pepper Potts for Iron Man. You're able to, say, use a strength to play a 2-cost ally. Then you can swap a card and get that strength back and then have that strength to swap again. And so that's one way you can do it. You can you can grab allies that were just killed in the villain phase, or like Professor X gets discarded at the end of the phase. If you're in alter ego form, you can swap with that top card. So you can swap cards that are currently in your hand by paying for them and then grabbing them back, or cards that are already in that discard pile. It's a super flexible playstyle, and that's going to be a common theme through the video today, is how she's able to manipulate her deck and what she has available to her in order to fit the problems that are presented. Alter ego is really good for Domino, all the benefits that come with alter ego, as well as the ability to use some of her alter ego supports, like the Painted Lady. Domino is all about discarding cards from the top of her deck and then basically getting benefits based on what cards are discarded. That means that you run the risk of discarding some cards that are critical to setting up. So she has some really awesome cards that if you discard, it's going to be sad. Painted Lady kind of solves that issue. So anytime that you're discarding cards from the top of your deck, you can store a card under the Painted Lady up to a maximum of 3. And then as an alter ego action, you can draw one of those cards. And so now if you discard your probability field, which is one of her most incredible cards in her kit, you can use the Painted Lady to pull that back so that you can play it, so you don't have to wait for it to come back around. And so Painted Lady is awesome. I also really like throwing doubles with it, because then when you roll down, you can grab that double. You can do that double play thing. So there's a lot of really interesting sequencing plays with Domino. Pip the Pug is her other identity-specific alter ego support. Pip allows you to exhaust and choose a Domino or a Posse card in your discard pile and put it on top of your deck. So there's a couple of interesting sequencing that we can do here now. Now, if there's a card that you really need to play, you can put that on the top of your deck. Or if there's cards that want to be discarded, you can put those on the top of your deck and then discard them through like Weapon X. So White Fox is the one that I'm specifically referring to here. This is a Posse ally that says when she is discarded from the top of your deck, she gets to be put into play. Weapon X is a basic support, and so I'm going to talk about it here because I think of Weapon X as effectively in Domino's kit. I don't think I'd run Domino without Weapon X. So you can exhaust Weapon X, deal yourself a damage, discard cards until you get an identity specific card. So now if you combine Weapon X with Pip, you can put either an identity specific card on the top of your deck, use Weapon X to just draw that, or you can put White Fox on the top of your deck, use Weapon X, it'll discard White Fox, put White Fox into play. There's so many cool ways to manipulate the deck, and it's so much fun. The deck manipulation does not stop in Alter Ego. When you flip her to her hero side, she has different ways that she can mess with her probability and what is going to be discarded. Her action on her hero side is you can take a card in your hand and swap it with the top card of your deck. So now instead of swapping with your discard pile, swap it with the top card of your deck. There's even more options that opens up, because now if we look back and say we use Pip to put a card on the top of your deck, now we can flip into hero form and swap that card in. Or she has the ability that states that whenever you discard cards from the top of your deck, you count printed wilds twice. So that matters because so many of her cards deal with counting the number of icons discarded from the top of the deck. And so now if I discard a wild, it counts as 2. So we'll talk a little bit more in depth about some of the cards that interact with that here in a second. But if you have wilds in your hand, you're able to swap that with the top card of your deck, and then you know what you're discarding, and you can get that double benefit. And I feel like I'm a broken record here, but I am enamored with this type of playstyle and have been having so very much fun with it. And so I'm going to come off as a little excited in this video. But her stat line, I kind of glossed over that. I didn't even talk about that, but it's a 1, 2, 3 stat line. If you know me, if you watch the channel, you know that I love protection. And so seeing that 3 defensive stat, I am here for. Her 15 card hero kit comes with 14 wilds. And so that ability for counting those wilds, she's going to have a fairly good chance of hitting a wild. The one card that is not a wild is actually better than a wild. It's called Jackpot. It actually has all 3 normal resources printed on it. So lightning, mental, and physical printed on it. And it has a effect that says when it's discarded from the top of your deck, you can shuffle it back into your deck. This makes it so that while a wild counts as +2 for whatever effect you're going to be triggering on her hero cards, Jackpot counts as a +3. You can also use it to spend as a 3 resource 1 card, which is crazy. Spend it to grab Professor X, use her alter ego ability to swap, get Jackpot back in your hand, flip up the hero, swap Jackpot with the top card of your deck, activate one of your pistols, shoot something for 3. It's so cool. Okay, let's talk about the cards. The best card in her kit is Probability Field. This is probably one of the most insane upgrades in the game. It says that whenever you use a basic action, so thwart, attack, defend, or recover, you discard the top card of your deck and you get +1 for that activation. So if you thwart, you discard a wild. Because she counts it twice, you're thwarting for 3 instead of 1. This is where it gets a little crazy because this doesn't exhaust. So if you are able to ready and find multiple activations with Domino, you're going to be able to hit Probability Field multiple times and getting +2, +3 if you hit that Jackpot multiple times throughout your activations. I have found myself typically using her basic activation to thwart because of her Probability Field. She's able to thwart for a minimum of 2, maximum of 4, I guess, which is crazy. And usually I'm finding myself using that thwart ability because she has 2 upgrades, which are Domino's pistols, 2 cost upgrades that kind of just handle the damage. So you can exhaust, flip, or discard the top card of your deck and deal damage equal to the number of resources on that card discarded. So wilds are now you exhaust, you deal 2 damage. Since you have 2 of these, you can do it twice, hit 4 damage. Or if you hit Jackpot, it's 3, get shuffled back in, and maybe on that second one you get lucky enough to hit it again. Domino is all about luck, so yeah, maybe you will get that Jackpot twice in a row. But yeah, so that's where a lot of the damage comes from. There is more ways to modify that. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the basic card section. But let's move on to some of her other upgrades. She has an upgrade called Lucky and Good, which is a 1-cost upgrade that says when a boost card is turned face up, you cancel the boost card's effect and icons, discard it, and then draw a new boost card. So if you get some super nasty, you get Ronin's Hammer or something, you can exhaust Lucky and Good to give yourself another boost card. Now, you're stuck with that second boost card because you can't exhaust it again, but typically you can mitigate some horrendous things happening to you in the encounter phase from boost, as well as in encounter cards with her next card. The last thing I will say about Lucky and Good is that it is defense traded. So whenever you trigger Lucky and Good, you are considered to have defended the attack, which can trigger all of the responses that you typically find in protection for when you defend effects. So this is a way to trigger those without actually exhausting to defend. The card I was alluding to earlier is called Lucky Break. This is a 0-cost upgrade. It follows a fairly similar formula to Lucky and Good. It says that whenever you reveal an encounter card, you can cancel that effect, discard this card as well. So you do have to discard Lucky Break and then reveal another encounter card. It can really save your butt. It's 0 cost, so it's really nice to just put on the table, and it's a nice tech against some of those nasty cards like Advance, Under Fire, that kind of stuff. It's really sad, and this did happen to me. I got caught off guard, or no, it wasn't. It was I forgot what the encounter card was, but it was discard your lowest cost upgrade. So I discarded that, and then my next card was an advance, which lost me the game. And so I held on to Lucky and Break so that I could cancel an advance, but then the first encounter card discarded it, which is, I'm just bitter about it. It's not that I don't think that is in any ways a knock against the card. I'm just sad and I like to complain about it. But Lucky Break is a really good card. If anything, it's a 0 cost upgrade that gets out of your deck, and so that you can hit that jackpot multiple times on all of your activations. She's got a couple of events in her kits. The first two are her damage and thwart events. We see a lot of these types of cards in hero design. Her damage event is called a Good Workout. It's a 2 cost event that deals 4 damage, plus discard the top card of your deck, plus damage equal to the number of icons discarded. So kind of following a lot of what she's doing. We're just discarding a lot. Remember, if you discard something that you really need, save it with the Painted Lady. You can draw it whenever you roll back down into Alter Ego. That being said, I don't find myself playing this too frequently. With the pistols on the table, those are doing a lot of the damage that I need to be maintaining for like minion control. Domino can do some good damage, and so a Good Workout, I find myself not really needing the damage as much as I thought I would, just because other pieces of her kit do so much damage. And so a Good Workout, I'm typically just using for that wild resource. Right Place, Right Time is her thwarting card. It's kind of the same formula. It's 2 for 3 plus a discard. I find myself playing this one more than a Good Workout just because there's usually a lot of threat that needs to be taken care of in the game. And so Right Place, Right Time, I have found myself being able to do that, and then I can focus my probability field on damage, because a Right Place, Right Time, even if there's no side schemes, a Right Place, Right Time is probably going to be enough to clear the main in a solo game for many scenarios. And so if I can play this, then I can attack and do 3 to 4 or 5 damage with my basic attack to the villain, and so that could be just a little bit more efficient. Or just like with a Good Workout, a lot of times you can use that ability to swap it with the top card of your deck, and it can be a wild resource. I'm really not playing a lot of our events. I played with X-Gene for a while, and X-Gene you can exhaust to generate a resource for a hero-specific event, and honestly, it really wasn't doing that much, because I found myself rarely playing her events, especially in solo. The one exception to that is her last event, which is Luck Be a Lady. We only have one of these, which is sad because it is an incredibly powerful card. You 1 cost event, discard the top card of your deck. If it has an energy icon, you get to heal 2 damage from a character, mental, remove 2 threat from a scheme, physical, deal 3 damage, and then wild, you get to choose one of these. That means that if you discard a wild, you get to activate her ability, count that wild twice, and you can choose the same option twice or 2 different options, and that's some incredible efficiency. At that point, it's a 2 effective cost card for 6 damage, which is kind of unheard of. If you count that physical twice, you can use energy. It's heal any character, so you can heal up your allies, you can heal up your friends, you can heal up yourself. I have found myself discarding a card and then choosing energy twice so I can heal 4 damage, save my basic activation so I did not have to recover when I was down in Alter Ego. Flexibility, and it's kind of the theme here, is that while Domino is super lucky, and when I first saw her, I thought she was going to be really random, she is so very consistent and so very flexible, where she can flex into pretty much solving anything on the table. She does have 2 signature allies. So this is the first hero that we've seen in the game that comes with 2 allies. We've seen 0 and we've seen 1 before, but this time we get 2. First one is Diamondback. Diamondback is a 2-cost ally. She's a 1/1/2, but you'll probably never use her stats because of her ability. It says exhaust Diamondback, deal her damage, discard the top card of your deck, and deal damage equal to the number of icons on that card, or resources on that card, to everything on the table. So if you're discarding a wild, that's 2 damage to everything on the table. So in multiplayer, you're clearing so much. You're clearing an insane amount. If you're able to hit a jackpot with Diamondback, you're able to clear a lot of the lower health minions on the table, a lot of those 3 health minions, as well as hit the villain for 3. Diamondback is incredibly good in multiplayer, and Outlaw is really good in solo, but I feel like she gets outshined by Diamondback. But Outlaw is a 3-cost ally. She has toughness, and I will always forget it, but maybe if I say it in this video, I will remember the next time I play. Anyways, she is a 1/1/3 ally with toughness, and says that whenever she attacks an enemy, discard the top card of your deck, and she deals extra damage based on how many resources are discarded that way. So when I was saying that her damage comes elsewhere, her pistols as well as these two allies, plus even if she needs to base to activate, she has some really good burst damage. And because of Pip, because of her deck manipulation, you're able to get these cards fairly easily when and where you need them to be. And so it's a really fun sequence. I think that she is a little bit higher on the complexity of how you can, or heroes that you can run. That being said, once you do get an understanding of her, she can be so very, very powerful. Let's talk about her cost curve. So the good news doesn't stop with her kit. Cost curve, she's in that bottom half of the pack. She's around 1.6 cost per card, and she has some really nice economy tricks, like what we were saying earlier, being able to, play jackpot or doubles twice in a turn by swapping out that top card of the discard. She has digging deep, which is a new basic resource that we have, which is effectively her 16th, 17th, and 18th signature card, because it's a wild resource. When it's discarded, you add it to your hand. It's another way to accelerate her really strong economy, and then also just so many ways to get what you need where. With Pip, with Painted Lady, with her manipulation, it's really easy to get your cost and your demand to line up or manipulate it so that it does. It's a pretty low cost curve with a lot of economy, so it just sets Domino up for success. Let's transition. I've already talked about a couple of the basic cards because I felt like a lot of the basic cards kind of fit into her kit, but some of these other ones I am looking to run in almost every single one of my Domino decks. Professor X, usually I put him in almost all of my solo decks, and I don't really call it out that much in these videos. That being said, I do want to call out Professor X mainly because of his ability to confuse. With Domino wanting to roll down so frequently, Professor X allows you to confuse that villain and then take a hit and roll down. Her signature kit does not have any confuse in it, and so Professor X is a nice way to lean on a basic card to get some confuse in your kit so that you can go down and trigger all your alter ego toys. Superpower Training is a basic side scheme. This is great to just be able to get that probability field into play earlier, or if you are lucky enough to get a probability field into play before Superpower Training, it can grab your guns. And because we have two of those, we can easily get a Superpower Training to trigger at least one of those three upgrades. I alluded earlier about how we can make those pistols better and why I think the pistols are just incredibly good. Sharpshooter is a 2-cost basic upgrade that states whenever you make a ranged attack, you discard the top card of your deck. That attack deals extra damage based on the number of resources, so this effectively doubles the pistols. Because the pistols are ranged attacks, we can discard a card and then a second card for Sharpshooter, and so now our pistols can be doing minimum 2 damage, maximum 6. Because of the way that the timing works, if you discard Jackpot with the pistol, it immediately gets shuffled back in before you discard the second one. And so you can set up the deck, especially with those really thin decks. Once you get down to 2-3 cards, you have a really high likelihood of hitting the Jackpot. And so you can pistol, hit the Jackpot, shuffle it, hit the Jackpot again. Now one pistol is doing 6 damage, which is why I'm rarely playing her attack event. Her pistols do some work. Another basic card that I talked about a little bit earlier was White Fox. White Fox is the ally that when she gets discarded from the top of your deck, she gets put into play. Now, White Fox is a posse member, which is why I wanted to talk about her a little bit more, alongside of Atlas Bear, which is another basic posse member. Atlas Bear is a 3-cost ally that allows you to exhaust and look at the top card of your deck. If it is an event, you can deal a damage to Atlas Bear and then draw that card. And so we can either see what is happening, we can see if it's a wild or if it's Jackpot to activate our pistol or our probability field, whatever, or we can draw it, or because we have the manipulation to switch out that top card, we can take and say we know Jackpot's on the top of our deck and we want to play Jackpot. We can swap a What Doesn't Kill Me with Jackpot or an event with Jackpot. We have Jackpot in our hand, then we can use Atlas Bear to draw that event. Sequencing is everything with Domino, and it's so incredibly fun. But I wanted to talk about these two allies along with Diamondback and Outlaw because of the Posse card. This card is incredibly powerful. You can only play it if you control 3 Posse characters. Domino herself is a Posse character. Her signature allies make up 2 more, White Fox and Atlas Bearer Posse. So you need 2 allies on the table effectively to play it. It's a 2-cost card that says you heal 1 from each Posse character and ready it. So this is some stupid efficiency. If you have just Domino and her allies, so just those 3, it's a minimum of 6 damage if you don't hit any wilds. But when you mess with the wilds and you can hit jackpot multiple times, you can get some crazy damage. It's a really nice finishing move to take out the villain, to finish that villain. You can really easily do some one flip kills with Domino because of her burst potential. And in the meantime, if you're not playing it, if you don't meet that requirement, it is a printed wild resource, so you can use it to just activate all of her other abilities. And so the Posse is really hard not to run in her deck. At this point in the video, we're going to walk through the 4 different aspects and kind of talk about which one she's best or worst in to best in. And then when I get to my favorite one, I will call that out. Now, in 4th place, I'm going to put Aggression. She already has a ton of damage in her kit. With pistols and sharpshooter, they're doing a minimum of 4 damage each round and easily doing much more than that. Aggression leans into what she's already really good at, and so it doesn't shore up any of her weaknesses, which it's going to be kind of hard to point towards weaknesses with Domino. But that being said, it is still really strong because she is built around wild resources. She's able to hit the resource requirements for a lot of the cards in Aggression. Specifically, think about like Home Technique, where you get to add the cost of the aggression event into the damage output of the event. And then also she has a lot of upgrades, meaning that you can thin the deck pretty small. So no quarter allows you to deal excess damage to a minion and then just draw way too many cards. So Aggression is a lot of fun with Domino. It is very powerful with Domino, but it's in 4th place because it kind of leans into what she's already good at, whereas some of the others have some mitigation around what she needs to shore up. In 3rd place, we have Leadership. Leadership has some really cool combos with like the Triskelion and upping your ally slots in order for you to have more Posse members so that your Posse card can do even more work. It has Caliban, which is a new ally that we've got. Whenever you play Caliban, discard cards until you hit a X-Force, X-Men, X-Factor ally, add it to your hand so it can trigger all of those discard stuff. So if you're hitting Digging Deep, so while you're discarding through Caliban, you can get some more money that way. And then also, I think it's fun. I think it is a good build. I think it's less consistent than a lot of our other builds, but running Adam Warlock in this deck where you can discard a random card from your hand and you get a benefit based off of the printed resources. So if you hit jackpot, then you get all of those all of those benefits, and it's really, really good efficiency. It's a lot of work to get there for what she can do with like less work, but it is a lot of fun. But Leadership is good because it kind of leans into the allies and what she wants to do. There's also a couple ways to heal in Leadership. So I enjoy Leadership, but the 2nd place is actually my favorite aspect, and no shock to anybody, it's going to be Protection. I think Protection actually has a really good shot at being one of her best aspects because of Probability Field and the ways that we have to ready in the green aspect. So cards like What Doesn't Kill Me, she's able to hit that physical requirement because of all the wilds in her kit and what we're building around. And so we can heal, stand up, and then thwart or attack, which, because Probability Field does not exhaust, we get to trigger Probability Field again. We have Indomitable, which is a 1-cost upgrade. After your hero defends, you get to ready them. Now we can defend minimum of 4 once we have Probability Field because we're discarding that top card. So taking very little damage and then we get to stand right back up. She can lean into the perfect defense build with her high defense, her ability to effectively choose your boost cards or clear those nasty boost cards with Lucky and Good. You can heal up the Posse with like med teams. It's a very dynamic aspect for Domino, and I think I just have a lot of fun building her in multiple different ways in the green aspect, but her best aspect is Justice. Any hero that wants to flip very frequently is going to like Justice as a solo aspect because it has a lot of access to confuse, it has a lot of access to threat mitigation, which is going to be the biggest risk in flipping very frequently. But we also got a couple other new friends in Justice, like Wolfsbane, where we can name a card type after Wolfsbane thwarts, and if we name the right card type, then we can draw that card. With the ability to swap, we know what that card is, so Wolfsbane is going to allow us to draw up. Justice just works really well to complement the insane damage output that Domino has. So that's why Justice is in first. The community, we actually are pretty far off here. We're not aligned except for like one. Everything else is kind of all jumbled up, but also the community didn't have that much variance between the top and the bottom spread. They had protection last, then aggression, leadership, and then we agreed on Justice. But at the time of filming the video, it was like a 6% difference in the lowest of protection and the highest of Justice, and so it wasn't that big of a discrepancy, where sometimes we'll see 80% into one, whereas this one was pretty aligned. The community as an overall ranking ranked her around like an A or an A+ ranking, and I want to talk a little bit about my tier list before we rank her. And this is something that I will do another video on here hopefully very soon, but my tier list needs a little TLC. It has a couple of issues that I never really thought about. First, I think that the more I am doing this, the more heroes that I'm ranking, the more I have an understanding of what an A hero looks like and what a B hero looks like. And so I need to put in some work and kind of rearrange some of these heroes, because I think some of the heroes are out of place on this list. The other thing is, because we are doing this one at a time and we're having people vote on who I play next, a lot of people have voted on the stronger heroes to be kind of the first ones ranked. And so now anybody that's in that middle tier looks kind of bad, because we've already ranked a lot of the really high tier villains or heroes, and so all the heroes that we haven't ranked yet are probably going to fall on the lower end of that bell curve. But now it looks like anybody in that B tier is actually like a really bad hero. So it will fill out, but I want to create a video where I talk a little bit more about that, rearrange, and then come out with a solution to fill out the entire the list. But all of that being said, I'm going to rank her as an A+. She is an incredible solo hero. I'm going to put her right between Miles and Ant-Man, and she absolutely deserves that thought. She is insanely powerful. She can be a little difficult to pilot, but even if you're not making optimal plays with Domino, you're still making incredibly powerful plays. Her sequencing and her, like, the experience ramp of the cool things that you can do with swapping cards from your discard pile to the top of your deck, flipping, swapping that card, and figuring out exactly where and how to place your cards so that you can get a white tiger into play, or white fox into play. You can hit that jackpot multiple times. Is so very satisfying, and I feel like every single game I play with Domino, I get a little bit better at Domino. And so there's going to be a large learning curve, but I think it's going to be very much worth it if you put in the time and effort to learn how to become a very strong Domino player. I think that effort is going to pay off. I have said in the past that if there are like a lot of required cards, I typically don't like that as much. Domino has a lot of required cards, and for some reason I don't mind. Maybe it's new, maybe she is, the cult of the new, and I'm kind of, I have my blinders on that she's brand new, and so all these new cards that I'm playing with feel dynamic and different enough that decks feel interesting. Maybe that's it. But I love her. I think that she's incredibly cool. She's so deep, and I think the complexity of the decision-making inside of the gameplay is actually kind of offsets my need to have interesting deck builds. And not saying that she doesn't have interesting deck builds, it's just like a huge basic package that we put into Domino. And so you're going to have, I don't know, probably 9 or 10 cards that you're going to run in every Domino deck. But because her gameplay is so engaging, I don't find that to be an issue. And I still think that she is one of my top favorite heroes. In multiplayer, she's going to be good. She can lean into filling many roles because of her flexibility and the manipulation. She can set up all the combos that the table needs. And so she's going to be strong anywhere that she needs to be. If she needs to thwart, she can focus on playing right place, right time, and hitting her thwart events multiple times because of all the manipulation that she has available to her. She needs to deal damage. She's got bat in spades. So she's just got a lot of ways to fill any role that a team needs. So I think she's going to be a really solid multiplayer character as well. That's my thoughts on Domino. I think that she's incredibly powerful, incredibly fun, and so excited to see where the future of this game is going, because these two heroes have been home runs for me. And so Domino and Cable have been incredible, and I've had so much fun playing them. What are your thoughts on Domino? Are you someone who likes all that manipulation? Do you think that she is super powerful and fun like I do, or are you kind of mediocre on her? Let me know in the comments, because I would love to talk about it. Also, if you have any interesting deck list, drop those in the comments, because I like taking a look at those and seeing what y'all have come up with. So thank you for hanging out. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you next time. Peace.